Hello guys, color vision. Okay, we'll go directly into color vision. We talked about edges, we talked about motion sensitive cells, and now about color. First of all, let me get this straight. Color is not real. Color is just a representation of the spectrum of light that falls into your retina. That is it. Okay. Because the spectrum has got individual wavelengths, like it's a huge spectrum that consists of radio waves to ultraviolet, and it goes very high. And it's a very small part of the spectrum that we can see, and in that we have to determine what is the frequency of lights that are falling in our retina. Why would that be important? Yeah, it is good to know whether something is red or green, because we need to pick berries or fruits which are ripe, and not go and take the bitter green ones. So that seems to be very important. And that is there with color vision. And the spectrum of light, we can just about make some sense of the spectrum of light, just like this thing. What is this? This is a topographic map for pilots to see, to check whether which something is like how high the mountains are or how low it is. The green areas are lower and the red areas are taller peaks. So this is like a color representation of the height. Just like that, our color representation is also a representation of the relative spectrums that fall into our retina, that we calculate, and our brain assigns colors to it. So color technically is not real. Let us make that thing extremely clear. We are not seeing exactly what is falling into our eye. We are just seeing a representation of it in three different cones. Okay, so we have only cones that are sensitive to three different wavelengths. In between, if it's something comes, we really can't differentiate between the two. Like I'll tell you about the cones. So color vision starts with the trichromatic theory. The trichromatic theory, as we know, I think you are quite familiar. Okay, so says that there are three types of cones. This is the S cone, this is the M cone, and this is the L cone. Why S, M, and L? There's technically no blue, green, and red. Essentially all colors created by our mind. So that means S is for small wavelength. It is about wavelength. Small wavelength means high frequency blue. Okay. Medium wavelength means between the long wavelength is L. L is long wavelength. What is the longest wavelength beyond which we cannot see? Red. Okay. Lowest frequency also. And mid is somewhere in between. Okay. So this kind of corresponds to green in our vision. In what we see, when medium cones are stimulated, it gives us more of a green color. Okay. So these are the three things that happen. So light, how can we represent light? So light can be represented what is light? Essentially, there is a big nuclear reactor up in the sky, the sun. Okay, there is the sun, and it releases lots of all electromagnetic spectrum is being released. In that spectrum, radio waves at the left, small visible spectrum, only this much. Okay, and this much is ultraviolet spectrum, this much is infrared, something beyond red, this is ultraviolet. So between red and violet, we can kind of see red and violet or blue or something like that. Okay, so if this is actually separated, we can see from red, green and blue. Okay, and each is stimulated essentially. So these are the areas. Okay, maybe like this. Now if we say that things like that, red and green will produce yellow, green and blue will produce a teal color or cyan color, maybe. Okay, cyan color. And then red. Okay, what is this? Red and I'll remove this. And red and blue together produce a magenta color. Okay. So this is the trichromatic theory, and how this works is pretty simple in the sense that just look at this. Okay. Just imagine that there is a light spectrum that falls exactly in the only there is a one single light, that one single wave beam of light that is falling at like 430 wavelength. Okay, and there is no other thing, so only this gets stimulated. Okay, this gets stimulated so much, and you can see that the medium cones are also stimulated a little and the long cones are also stimulated a little. So they all add these colors, and all these are actually calculated, and then comes out the color blue. Okay, imagine an exact 540 wavelength light coming and falling here. There is nothing else in the other spectrum. It's just one single beam of light at 450. Clean case of green. Okay, only greens are activated. Greens are activated this much, and what is happening? Greens are activated this much, and actually blue is also, long wavelength, the red is also activated. So both of these are activated actually, but generally green is activated more, hence we get green color. Okay, just imagine a light of wavelength exactly 580, okay, falling here, and then you can see that red is activated more, and this green cell, kind of like the medium cone, is also activated, but it is less. Okay, so if long wavelength greater than medium wavelength, actually it can be called as red. If medium wavelength greater than long wavelength, it can be called as green, because essentially you can see that these medium and long, they are very close to each other. So our brain needs to do some kind of calculation to give us an actual color. Okay, blue, green and red. Okay, red, how does it happen? Long greater than medium, medium greater than long. And for this blue, it is not that difficult. Blue is pretty simple because blue has got a very large separation of wavelengths. Okay, so blue is pretty easy to determine, but still, so this is how we determine whether a color is blue, green or red. Okay, this is about that. And again, just imagine that you stimulate exactly this, like there is a 440 wavelength thing, and there is a 530 wavelength thing, and there is two lights. Okay, just two frequencies firing directly into the retina. Both of these are fired. So our brain is thinking there is small wavelength and medium wavelength. So blue and green is actually there. So the brain will tell, oh, blue and green are active. So let's code this as cyan. So that is what happens. Okay. And it doesn't make a difference if there are just two beams of rays, one of 440 and one of 530, or there is a whole, if there's a whole spectrum of light here, the whole spectrum of light from 440 to 550 is there also, it doesn't make a difference. Both will give you just one same result, that is if blue cone is stimulated and the green cone is, both are maximally stimulated, we will tell it is a combination of both. Okay, these both can be maximally stimulated in any ways. You can just shine a blue light and also a green light and you will get yellow color, which is how we make colors, as in while printing and drawing and things like that. Drawing is a different thing, but like using filters and things like that, we know that if we add blue and green, we will get yellow, and that is like everybody kind of knows it. Okay, so that is it. And if there is similarly, and okay, so that is it. But in normal scenarios, the spectrum is a continuous thing. Okay, the electromagnetic spectrum will be like at 440, this will be the intensity, and this will be the intensity at 530. Okay, this is green. We can see another situation in which, if this is the spectrum from 440 to 550, if the light frequencies are, there is nothing at 440, but there are lot of frequencies at like 480 and something like that, and it wanes off at green at 550. If even the spectrum is like this, still our output would be cyan. Okay, oh, what is this? This is cyan. Okay, so that is how we do the calculation. So what we are seeing is not an actual wavelength. You can be easily fooled by using 3 lights. If you got 3 lights, you can create any kind of color you can see all the time. In printing and all, we use RGB, and in TVs you can use 3 colors to create all the colors that we can see by using this idea. So that is how this thing is set up. So this is the trichromatic theory of vision. Now I'll tell you the next theory. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit about color blindness. Okay. So color blindness. Okay. We are all trichromats. What do you mean by trichromats? 3 types of cones. Okay, they pick different wavelengths. Okay, and you can see that the green is very close to the red. That is a very interesting thing. The green is very close to the red, and that is very, very, very interesting. Now the fact is that why this happens is because of evolution. Okay, all mammals are they are dichromats. They have only 2 pigments. Okay, because we evolved from like shrew-like animals. Mammals all evolved from shrew-like animals that were living under burrows and all things like that, where color was not very important. So at that point of time, 2 colors was enough. But the dinosaurs and all the birds and everything had four colors, tetrachromats. But we lost all that ability because we were living underground. And then when the whole dinosaurs got extinct, these small shrew-like animals became mammals. And all mammals therefore are colorblind. Most of the mammals. And that is why essentially if you see a zebra or a tiger, I mean if like tiger has got very good, you can see that the tiger is golden and it has got black stripes. So it is very how can it do the camouflage? That is a big question. A golden colored thing, how can it be a camouflage in green savannas? Essentially the point is that animals can't see color, so it doesn't matter whether it's green, blue, pink or whatever. Okay, whether even a pink tiger wouldn't stimulate the senses of a mammal, green savanna things. And color came back while evolution of primates, and primates that wanted to eat fruits. And when fruits were a very important source of food, you needed to differentiate between ripe red fruits and green fruits that were bitter, and that was very important for survival. And so later on it evolved. Okay, when fruits were very important source of food, that is when again it came back. So it is on the way path to evolution. So that is why this is so close to each other. We hope that it will have good separation so that we can have good sensitivity and good separation of colors. But still we just can see in three colors, which is good for us. So why I am telling about all this mutation is that because this is a relatively new thing, there is a chance that this becomes very close to each other in some individuals. Those individuals will not be able to distinguish between red and green. It is just that they won't be able to distinguish between red and green. They will always fire green and red together, and hence they will see in shades of yellow and blue. Okay, because these are close together. When the medium is stimulated, the long will also be stimulated if these curves are close by. You can just have an imaginary thing. If this is the cone and this is another cone, both will get stimulated together all the time. So you cannot differentiate between red and green. So what they see is between blue and, you can see this blue and then different shades of yellow. So this is called deuteranopia. Okay, this is the most common form of color blindness. So don't think that colorblind people are seeing everything in black and white. Okay, so there are different kinds of the complete, the people who see completely in black and white, it's another disease. It's called achromatasia or something like that. There is no color at all. Okay, that is not the color blindness that we generally talk about. What we are talking is red-green color blindness, where everything is in a shade of yellow. So what happens is, in a green light it is yellow, and in a red light also it is yellow. So what they are seeing is different shades of yellow. It is not red and green. So that is how they see. I guess you get an understanding about all these things. And I think it's quite common, as in one person in a class, at least one person in a class might have this kind of color blindness, and you can find it by looking at this space. This should be green, really green, and this should be really red. Okay, so that is about it. And maybe you can really test it by drawing yellow colored lines here. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I draw 5 lines. So if you can't, okay, what happened? If you can't see 5 lines, then you probably have color blindness. So that is about it. So that is about the trichromatic theory. What is this? So, okay, trichromatic theory. Now there is a big problem with the trichromatic theory, because So the trichromatic theory, color vision, main theory is trichromatic. That is what is being mostly asked and things like that. Okay, trichromatic theory. And the actual present theory is much more about retinal processing and things like that. Color is processed in a lot of ways. It goes from the retina and it reaches the brain and things like that. Now we have found out that actually color doesn't go in separately to the cortex. It is never like red, green and blue, different combinations, no, and 3 colors are checked and there comes a color out. No, that is not the way it happens. We now know that I will tell about opponent's theory later. We now know that there is a channel which see, if you see this picture, you can get a lot of idea about what I am going to tell you. Okay, so about this picture, if you see if there is a light with wavelength here and intensity this much is coming and hitting, you know that the medium cones, I will mark in green if possible. Okay, where is it? Okay, the medium cones will be stimulated this much. Okay, that represent green, and the red cones will be stimulated this much. So the red cones are more than green. Okay, and the idea is that if red is more than green, the cortex calculates, but it is not so. Now we have found out that in order to differentiate between the colors more, in order to have more differentiation of colors, we have one mechanism that is called opponent mechanism. The idea is that in a receptive the whole thing has come back. Receptive surround field has come back again to haunt you. If you have any doubts, go check once more. Okay, so receptive fields are arranged for color in such a way that the red is in the center, and if red is on, okay, there is red colored cones are here. Okay, red colored cones are here. I mean, red colored cones alla, essentially long wavelength cones are present here. Okay, and then we have medium wavelength cones here arranged. Okay, and then what happens is this is actually green. Okay, and it is set up in such a way that okay, it's such a way. This is for color processing, this is not for edge processing. Okay, understand, this is for color processing. Edge processing is different. Okay, that is a different thing altogether. So this is for color processing. How this does is, okay, if the whole area is covered by red, it fires maximally. Okay, if the whole area is covered with red, it fires maximally. If the whole area is covered by green, no firing at all. Okay, but there is a thing that if this is a field and this is the center, red has got center. Okay, red is red, and this is on. This is a positive thing. But if green falls on the periphery, this will inhibit. Now why would that be important? Because see, for example, Okay, if if this wavelength was shined upon like this, just imagine what would happen. Okay, yellow color is falling here. Just imagine that. Yellow color is falling there. Okay, where is yellow color? Yellow colored light is falling here. Okay, now with the yellow colored light here, the red will get stimulated more. Okay, red will get stimulated more, so there will be positive. Okay, and here what, the green will be stimulated but only to a lesser amount. This green medium cones are stimulated but only to a lesser amount, so the negative effect won't be that much. This will be cut off. Okay, so the output will be red. So in fact the color is almost decided whether it is red or green inside the retina itself. Okay, so you can see that here. See, there it goes. See, completely red, it fires. Why? Because all the area is completely covered with red. The green, this green cell is not activated at all. So what happens? It fires maximally. If the green cell is not activated, it means that it is complete, it is more towards the red side. Okay, so you can imagine this thing happen. You have to visualize it in your mind. Just imagine you are putting a light here. What will happen? The green medium cone cells have only this much activation, but the red cells have this much activation. Okay, so what will happen if this light falls here? The greens won't be activated. This will be very little activated because this light will activate the green cells only this much. So the inhibitory effect will be lesser and lesser. So it will become more and more red. And that is why when we come here, when there is no green at all, it is completely red here. As and when the green comes on to this, it becomes, when both are there, it will be yellow, and when it becomes like here, you can decide. Okay, when you look like this, the greens are activated by this and the red is stimulated only this much. So it has to oppose each other. Only then we can understand what the exact color is. Just like contrast can be picked out using surround, we can differentiate between red and green. You will differentiate between red and green much more in the retina, because you need to, our vision needs to get maximum information from whatever input we are getting. Our input is not good. Okay, so our circuits are connected in such a way so as to extract the difference between green and red as much, so as to give one color. Okay, we need to have a wide difference of range in color expression. So that is what happens. Anyways, this is how it goes. So we now see that there is a channel for red and green, and this stimulates a ganglion cell. Okay, ganglion cell. So the output from the ganglion cell is either red or green. Okay, it is either red or green. Okay, and now that is very interesting, because if you imagine, you cannot can you imagine a reddish green? No, it is a yellow, because red and green cannot be mixed together in our brain, because it is either red or green. If red and green comes, it is, it is yellow for us. So I'll tell you why that happens. So next is, similarly, if you see this diagram, again, if a light of frequency like this falls here, what is the thing? It has to differentiate between blue and a combination. Okay, blue and a combination of both two. See, because if light falls here, small and medium and large, everything is activated. So if small is activated more and both of these together are activated, so there should be a cell that actually gets a contrast between blue and yellow. Okay, so now you know why. So our retina, the output from the retina is how red it is, like this. I will show you a graph. Okay, yeah, this suggests what I am talking about. Okay, this is what it means. Okay, this is a cool representation of how it goes. On a scale, how green is it or how red is it? Okay, that is one thing. How red or green. And then another scale, we had to differentiate between blue and the rest two colors. Blue and red and green colored yellow. Okay, red and green together produces yellow. So you have to differentiate between blue and yellow. So this is in another scale. And then you have the dark or bright. Okay, this is how we actually process colors. And this is called the opponent's theory. And now there are very interesting things that happen because of this. So we will essentially say how it goes. Okay. What happened? Okay. So essentially what happens is, we told you that. Okay. The thing is, red and green is differentiated. So green and red in one scale. It is either red or green. And in another scale, it is either blue and both other things together yellow. So now you know a lot of things. You cannot see a blue. It's very weird to imagine a reddish blue. Not a reddish blue. It is very difficult to imagine a reddish green. Okay, reddish green is, just try to imagine a reddish green. You just cannot, because it is either red or is it green. It is green. Okay, somewhere along the line it is represented from green to red. Okay, that is one graph. Like we saw reddish, the blue and the yellow being differentiated in deuteronomes. Here one layer is for reddish, red or green. Okay, how red is it? How green is it? Okay, another ganglion cell fires showing the difference between, okay, blue and yellow. It's either blue or yellow. So it is, you cannot imagine a bluish yellow. Bluish yellow seems very weird. Try imagining it. You cannot see a bluish yellow. So essentially the colors we see are red or green, blue or yellow. So that is why you can imagine a greenish yellow. Greenish yellow. Like you can imagine a greenish yellow. Let's try this. Greenish yellow is greenish. Yes, greenish yellow can be there. You got to try this. Okay, the greenish yellow is there. Okay, and green is also there, and yellow is also there. So you can imagine a greenish yellow. Reddish green, try doing it. I don't know. If you can find out, well and good. You can have a reddish blue. Reddish blue can be, yeah, you can imagine a reddish blue. It's kind of magenta-ish color. Okay, so you can get a magenta color. Oh, yeah, I took that other. Okay, anyways. Oh, there is already magenta. I took magenta. So there is a magenta, reddish blue. Okay. You can have a reddish yellow, you can imagine it. I guess you can imagine very easily. It is orange. You can imagine that orange, reddish, yellow. Okay. You can have a bluish green, which is teal. So these are the colors we can see. We cannot see a reddish green or a bluish yellow. So this is very interesting. This is how much we are limited. So if you have 3 cones, this is all you can have. If you have 4 cones, we can differentiate between a lot of things and create more and more new colors. Like huge number of colors we can create. We can create channels where both oppose each other. Lot of opposition can be done, and that is crazy. Okay, you can create a lot of colors. So tetrachromats, all birds are tetrachromats. So birds are seeing things very weirdly. The crows that we say are black, probably the birds can see ultraviolet, and a lot of maybe there are four cones. So just imagine what they are seeing. They are seeing immense number of colors. They are even seeing the polarity of light. So that much is their vision. But they can't see in the night. Most birds cannot see in the night because the number of cones are less. Because they are always awake in the morning. They hunt in the morning. We as mammals, because we were evolved from small animals like shrews and things like that, we could actually do this dark vision very nicely. Okay, so that is how we create color. So we actually create a scale. Our brain creates a scale between red and green, and another scale between yellow and blue, and it maps accordingly. Okay, it maps accordingly. These are the colors. Everywhere there will be colors: blue and green, cyan, red and blue, magenta kind of color, red and yellow, orange, green and yellow, light green, I don't know, yeah, like this. So you can actually imagine things like that. Okay, blue, green, red, yellow. Okay, so this is how we map colors. This is very this is very good, because now you don't if you want to design something and you want people without color blindness also to see, you don't write it in red and green like this, or blue and yellow, because this is the same. So use red and blue and things like that. Complementary colors can be used to make it more very attractive. It's been used in cinematography, like you can add more yellows and things like that, and for video making and all these things, this color science is very important. It makes a lot of sense. So essentially there are 3 VR trichromats, and that give rise to the trichromat theory. But the ganglion cells are actually firing as a graph between red and green in one side and blue or yellow on the other side, and our brain is mapping colors there like that. So I mean, there's an interesting experiment. Okay, the idea is, don't move your eyes at all. Keep it focused on the black dot at the center. I am also doing along with you. Okay, keep it focused in the black dot at the center of your vision, and don't keep moving your eyes around, then you will never get that thing. Okay, just keep it focused on the central dot. Don't look anywhere else, and I am going to start the video. Okay, and see what happens. Okay. Don't move the eyes. Keep it focused on the black dot in the center. What did you see? You can see that that is very interesting. You can see that wherever there was the green lines, you could see that the green, there was a red line. You can a red line comes and it goes. Maybe if you close your eyes, you can see those red lines again. You can see that. Okay. So it's a very weird thing. This is called the after image. Okay. So wherever there was yellow, it became blue, because we are seeing whether it is yellow or blue. So our brain kind of opposes it in the after image. So when this green is removed and a white screen is placed, our brain imagines an opposing color there. So if you want, you can try it once more. You keep looking at the center dot constantly, and you will find that these green lines that you see here, these green lines that you see here are actually will become slightly red. The black will become white, and the yellow will become kind of bluish, because red and green are opposing and yellow and blue are opposing. See once more and we'll end the class. Keep looking at it. So you can see that. Okay, so it's very interesting. And there is another thing also that's there, which I will show you now, which is also pretty interesting. Keep watching it, and when you watch it, don't, if you can see the things clearly while watching these videos, if you can see the things clearly, you are probably moving your eye a lot. If you keep watching the central cross point or the central black dot that you saw earlier, if you keep watching that closely and don't move your eyes, your whole vision starts to get blurred and very weird. Okay, that is, if you don't move your eyes, you won't be able to see. Remember the cat's face moving in the background. So our vision needs movement to really, our vision really needs movement to understand. So that is the very interesting experiment. If you just look at the central plus mark and keep looking at the center, don't move your eyes, and if you keep looking at the center and not moving your eyes, what will happen is the surrounding pink dots actually will fail to be in vision. There will be a time in which you won't see the surrounding magenta pink dots. Can you see that? I guess if you concentrate on the center and keep looking at the center without moving your eyes, it will get blurred, it will get blurred, and suddenly at one point you will find that there are no violet dots at all. Then you will get afraid, and then suddenly you will move, and then you can see the magenta dots and on the side. Now that is one thing. But what I am trying to do is another thing. Okay, check this. Okay, so the idea is, see what is happening. You can see. Okay, what is happening is, see the one in one. Each this magenta. Okay, what is happening is there is a magenta dots keep on disappearing in a circular fashion. Okay, that is what is happening. But keep looking at the center and see what happens. Okay, keep looking at the center, get everything blurred out and see what happens. Okay, we'll see it. Bloody hell, you can see a green dot that is moving, which is absolutely not what is happening. If you keep on watching that, you can see that. You will feel like there is a green dot moving. And the fact is that if you look closely enough, all the magenta dots will be gone, and what you will only see is a green dot for going in circles, and that is shocking. I think that is shocking. How, I mean, if you can be fooled by this, your vision is, how do we even navigate in the world is the biggest question. So that is how vision works. And why are we seeing a green dot? Because it is the opposite complementary color of magenta. It's like the opposite. Okay, so opponent cells and all these things are working together to produce this illusion. So I will leave you at that. Thank you.